Hello everyone, good morning. Semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and some miscellaneous odds and ends. Today is January the 2nd. You'll be watching this on the 3rd. I hope you all had a great, safe New Year. I got up this morning expecting to see people here, but then forgot because the holiday fell on a Sunday, that Monday was the official holiday. That's why the Rose Bowl is today and a bunch of other stuff going on. Looks like Miss Nancy's car is in the parking lot. She's probably getting the nursery set up, switched over from Christmas decorations to whatever they're doing this year. But for those of you new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Let me start by explaining real quick what you're watching here. Primarily, I'm just out here walking. And why that's significant and why you may want to watch is less than 8 months ago, I could barely stand up for more than 2.5 minutes without severe pain. And now I'm out here walking. I try to get at least some walking in every day. So that's what you're watching here. I had originally planned on being out at the park today because it's Monday, but I forgot all about the holiday. First, I got up. The forecast for yesterday had said that today was going to be pretty nice. So I got up, put on my hiking clothes, was getting ready to go, stepped out of the trailer, and realized that there's still a haze out here that hasn't burned off yet, and it's almost noon. And it's low 50s. It is still supposed to get up warmer. So I thought, okay, it's not as warm as it was supposed to be. So I went back inside the trailer, took off my hiking clothes, put on another base layer for warmth, got redressed, got everything set again, got in my truck, drove over to the park. And that's when I remembered that it was the official holiday today. I don't know what was going on over there, but the park was packed. So I came back home again and swapped out my trail hiking clothes because I don't want to wash them more than I have to. And I don't wear those out on. I only wear those out on the trail because if I get caught in a downpour, they're the type of materials that will still keep me warm if they get wet. Here, if I get cold, since I'm right here at the house, I can duck back inside, dry off, put on dry clothes again, and so there's no point in messing up my one set of hiking clothes just walking around here. Today's going to be just a little bit different. I do have a couple things I want to talk to you about, but with the new year and our new challenges that we all face, today I'm going to call just how much I can do. I've said many times the quote that has stuck with me the most, that I've repeated here a couple of times. I don't remember where I saw it. It might have been in Coach Bronson, but I don't remember. Whoever said that, I'd love to give you credit, but I forget exactly where I found it. But the quote is, "Exercise is not a punishment, for what we ate. Exercise is a celebration of what our bodies can do. And I have a set goal in mind for today, but I'm not going to tell you what that is until the end of the video. Because if I say, well, I'm going to try to walk 8 miles today, and then something starts to hurt enough that I decide I need to quit, I don't want to have to tell you I failed. But what I think I'm going to do is, after I'm done talking about the things I'm going to talk about, I'm going to swap out to the bob cam and do some laps with my trekking poles out here, because I can definitely go further with the trekking poles. I just can't use the trekking poles and hold this camera so that you can see me while I'm talking to y'all at the same time. And I can tell it's not going to be but a couple laps before I get rid of this hat. But one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, especially since we came through that really heavy cold snap, and many of you live where, you don't get just the occasional cold snap in the wintertime. It gets cold and stays cold all the time for 2, 3, 4, 5 months at a time. But you still like to be outside doing things. As we've learned, hydration is important. The thing you have to be aware of, and I found this on one of the hiking channels that I follow. They were talking about this quite a bit, that because you're so into moving to stay warm and everything else, you don't realize how much you can still sweat underneath your base layers, because if you're wearing good proper clothes that wick away the moisture, you start sweating underneath. So you have to make a conscious effort to keep yourself hydrated, even when it's cold out. Me personally, I've never really had a problem with that, but if it's enough of a concern that they're talking about it on the big hiking channels that I watch, it's probably enough of a concern that those of us that are to the exercise stage of our journey, that we should probably at least be aware of it and know that we do need to make a concerted effort to stay hydrated. Another thing that I want to talk to you about today, so just in case, make sure that you're carrying a water bottle with you, or if you're like me, I just leave it sitting on the step of the trailer because it's close enough that I can stop every couple, 3 laps and get a drink of water. So even when it's cold out, make sure you stay hydrated. And if you're one of these crazy people that's out there running full steam in cold weather, you may want to add some electrolytes to it. I just want you to be mindful of that kind of stuff. And remember, if you're, this is for the people that are to the exercise part of their journey. Don't feel like that because Bob's out here walking every day that you have to get out and walk every day when you first get started. I made a pretty in-depth video about this a couple of days ago. So I'm not gonna dive too deep into this. Just remember that I was 4 months into my journey before I really stepped foot outside the house. And that first walk video was literally just down to the corner and back. And judging it from here, if I turn around and you look behind me, it's farther to those school buses over there than it was down to the corner and back in that first walk that I did. And now we're out here doing a full lap around the parking lot in the field behind the church as just kind of a warm-up. But yeah, Dr. Barry put out a new video, or it may have just been a post. But anyway, the American Diabetes Association just put out basically what they're calling a power snack for diabetics. And I'm paraphrasing, but the general gist of what Dr. Barry was saying was, are they actually trying to help diabetics? Or are they trying to help their buddies in big food and big pharma? Because the stuff they had in this, it was like 21 grams of sugar per serving. Not carbs, sugar. What in the world are they doing? I mean, I understand. I had, and I say had, type 2 diabetes when I started this journey. I don't anymore. But, you know, the nutritionist at my doctor's office, she had me on what she called a controlled carb diet. Not low carb, she called it controlled carb. And her suggestion was 3 meals a day at about between 45 and 60 grams of carbs per meal, and 3 snacks of 15 carbs per snack. So if you go on the high end of that, that's 120, 180 plus 45. If I'm doing math in my head right, that's 225 grams of carbohydrates per day. And of course, it's spread out throughout the entire day, so your insulin never has a chance to come back down. How can people that are supposed to be offering advice to diabetics get it so wrong? I mean, that's just crazy. And then to call something that loaded up with sugar a diabetic power snack, you really have to wonder. Because the studies are out there. They choose to ignore them. And I'm not saying they're great studies, because there's still a lot of, it's all mostly just observational, or I forget what it's called, but it's where they take, 15 or 20 studies and check it for one endpoint and see if they can find any trends in that one endpoint amongst all of those observational studies. And they're still all just observational, but if you combine a bunch of observational studies and look at them through the microscope of one hard endpoint, and by combining enough studies that you're looking at 25, 30, 40,000 people over a fairly significant amount of time, whether that be a year, 3 years, or 5 years, or whatever the study lengths are. You still have no actual hard evidence, because you can't say something that this is definitely true from that type of research. But it can give you some general overall guidelines to think about, at least. And that's what I mean when I say the studies are out there. Who are the American Diabetes Association and the American Heart Association? Who are they really trying to serve with these suggestions that they put out? I don't know. I mean, to get back to the observational study combination thing real quick, that's just like, we've talked about on this channel before, on an individual by individual basis, using the BMI scale to decide if somebody is healthy or overweight or obese, it breaks down. It's not really a very good thing to use, because it just looks at age, height, and weight. Well, if you just look at age, height, and weight, when somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger wins Mr. Universe, he's not just overweight, he's obese. And I challenge you to find any significant fat on that man when he was, mid-20s, competing Mr. Universe. So the BMI scale is not a very good scale for individuals on a case-by-case basis. But if you're trying to get a general overview of a population, whether that be, patients that go see this doctor, or people that live in this city, or people that live in this state, or people that live in this country, or the whole world as a general. The bigger the group you have, the more you can see trends. Because, a very small percentage of the people are going to be in the Arnold Schwarzenegger category. So it breaks down on an individual basis, but it doesn't do too bad when looking at larger groups of people. There's still no proof involved there, because there's an exact scientific method for determining cause and effect of things. But yeah, my diabetes advice is very, very simple. Stop pouring carbs down your throat, and you'll get better. I did. When I was originally diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, my A1C was 10.3. And I went down to New Orleans for a month. This was back when Mom was still healthy, because, you know, she was a nurse her whole life. So I went down and spent a month with her, implementing the plan she gave me, the approximate meals that I could have, and the snacks that I could have. And I did some walking in her swimming pool. So I did initially lose some weight. You know, back at that time I was 360 pounds. And I got down to about 320 pounds. Not all in that month, but within the first year I'd lost about 40 pounds. And I was doing okay because I was going to a swimming pool to do my walking, both down at her house, and then that's when I joined the Y, because they have a great swimming pool there, and I was walking laps in their pool. And my A1C did go down. I remember the first, when I went back for my first 90-day checkup, I was happy, and they were happy, because my A1C was down to like 8.2, which is still awful. You're still causing damage to yourself. But the only thing I was looking at the time is that to stop the diabetes nurse from calling you every day to check on your daily blood sticks to see what your readings were, and she would literally call you every day if at your last test your A1C was above 9. And I stayed at that level, basically 7.8 to 8.2, the entire time I was following that. And of course I slowly started to put the weight back on, because the one thing I remember about all that is, you know, I'd had my breakfast, and by the time I was done eating breakfast, I was already planning what I was going to have for my mid-morning snack. And I was so hungry, I would literally race to the kitchen to have my mid-morning snack while I was planning what I was going to have for lunch. And that's a sign that whatever diet plan you're following is either a semi-starvation diet or you're not eating enough. This is the one thing you can apply to carnivore or keto or ketovore or low carb, whatever you're doing. If you just got done eating and the only thing on your mind is what I can eat next and when I can eat it, you're not eating enough when you sit down to have a meal. This way of eating, this way of life, you should not be hungry. Especially right after you get done eating. If you're early in the journey, it should at least last you 3 or 4 hours. And if you're late in the journey like me, you should be able to get, you know, if you're targeting 1 meal a day, you should be able to get to that 1 meal a day time window without getting super hungry. Some people never get to that point. That's why they settle on 2 meals a day. And you should be able to get through, an 18-hour fast, 6-hour feeding window. That shouldn't even really be a struggle. If you're more than 4 or 5 months into this and you're still struggling with making it through 18 hours of fasting before you hit your 6-hour feeding window, or feasting window as some people like to call it, you're probably not eating enough. And primarily, you're not eating enough, and you're not eating enough fat. You need to up your fat a little bit, because fat's the primary thing that keeps you full and satiated, as they say. But I hope everybody's doing really well. When you're seeing this, it'll be January the 3rd, so you're 2.5 days in the World Carnivore Month. Hopefully you're having at least success with the diet. And within a couple of weeks, hopefully you start to feel some changes. I still think most of you, even if they're not huge changes, you'll find something to celebrate at the end of this month. I'm back. Well, not quite. I'm coming around the backside here a little bit. I'm going to get back to the trailer. I'm going to get rid of the hat. I'm going to set this camera down, pick up the bob cam, so you'll get to see the point of view of the laps I do. Because I'm trying to get to a certain mark today, I'm also going to grab the trekking poles out of my truck with the road feet on them, so I don't dig holes in the asphalt or dig holes in the field. But getting a little pressure off my legs and onto my arms, I'm thinking that'll let me get further. Because that's 3 laps talking to you guys. Let me see what the timer is. Oh yeah. I've been rambling on for real close to a half hour. This is probably going to be a little bit longer video. I'll speed it up as much as I can. But I want to go ahead and try and record as many of the laps as the bob cam will hold before it runs out of battery and memory. Just to show you that I am out here walking. It's an accountability thing. Because I've had a few people say, oh, you're just saying that that's how far you're going. Well, it's not, but I'm going to show you today. Alright guys, cue the bob cam, cue the music. Well, here I am back again. It's about 5 o'clock in the evening, 4:30 or 5, somewhere in there. I don't know if I got all those clips in the exact right order. The memory got full a couple of times on the bob cam, and I continued to walk. I didn't want to stop and wait for the footage to download. So I set it up, started downloading it off the bob cam into my computer, and then went and kept walking, because as I feared, while I was sitting there editing the whole thing, my knees stiffened up, because I ended up doing quite a bit today. And I'll tell you here in just a moment how much I did, but to put it in a little bit of perspective, normally when I show you trail videos and things like that, I turn the speed duration up from 100 to somewhere between 300 and 350. And today's footage was at 950, so it was really sped up. But I didn't get all of the laps recorded because I kept walking while the camera was downloading footage to my computer. And it doesn't go real fast because the camera is a USB-C, but my laptop doesn't have any USB-C ports on it. So running it in with a C to a 3 adapter, it does okay, but it's not super fast. So it takes a while. So I got the first offload I did 3 more laps, and the second offload I did another 2 laps, and then I finished it off with another couple of laps off camera. But yeah, so it was a good day. My legs are kind of tired. I feel like I could do a little more, but I think 11.71 miles is probably enough for today. I'm going to end my night with a lot of stretching to make sure I don't wake up super stiff and sore tomorrow. But I'll let you know in tomorrow's video how I felt when I woke up. Don't forget to get out there, be 1% better today, folks. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.